Alright, so now what we're going to do is, I guess, just talk about how we got into the series and, I guess, what's happened since then. So, I guess, since you're the guest, you can get started.
Oh, okay, well, so back in 5th grade in the year 2006, my friends were coming to school and they had One Piece Volume 1, and they would talk about it, and they would show it, they would look at pictures in it and stuff, and I was curious because I didn't want to be left out. So one day I was at the mall with my mom, and I was like, "Mom, I want to go to Borders, I want to get a book." She was like, "Okay." So we got there, and she was like, "What's it called?" "I don't know." "What's the genre?" "I don't know." So, luckily there was a copy on the magazine rack.
Okay.
It was just sitting there. So I was like, this is it. And so we picked it up and we got it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. And I got Volume 2. I was like, okay, interesting. And I got Volume 3. And then one year I was at camp, and this kid comes up to me. He's like, "You like One Piece?" Because I was reading, I think it was Volume 3. I was like, "Yeah, I like One Piece. It's pretty cool." He was like, "Oh, well, I like it too." And I asked for a copy of Volume 11 for my birthday, but I got 2. So, do you want one? I was like, "Oh, sure." I didn't even know they were that far. He gives it to me, and I witnessed the fall of Arlong Park. I had just finished Buggy the Clown. I was very, very confused. So, that began my quest to gain all the knowledge. And then, I believe it went 4, 5, 12, 13, 9, 6, 7, and then I could not find 8. I searched for like a year. Not a year, but a long time. Every time I went to Borders, wasn't there. But one time, I didn't have any money. I went with my uncle, and I saw it. And I cried. Not really, but I cried on the inside. And then he was like, "Oh, well, sure, I can get it for you. Yeah, it's no problem." So then I have Volume 8, and I was like, "Yes, my collection's complete." Then I was at the mall with a friend, and then he was like, "Oh, you know the 14th one's out, right?" And I said, "What?" So I got that, and then when I continued to collect, because every time I was with my dad, I would get the next one whenever it came out. This became a bit of an issue with my mom, but I continued to get them away from her, growing my collection in secret. And then, once the speed up of 2010 came along, I was kind of screwed. So I told my mom about it. She said, "No, you're not doing that. This is ridiculous. I won't let you do this anymore." We argued about this. And then eventually she caved and actually got me the first 5 volumes, 24 through 28. And so I was like, okay, cool. And so I continued to gather and collect. And here we are today. Just so full of One Piece.
I was in elementary school probably around the 3rd grade, I think. And, you know, back then, Dragon Ball Z was the thing. And, there was this... Well, you went to private school for...
Yeah.
Back then, so I don't know if you got these, but in our school we got these little, like, pamphlet things where, it's like a catalog of books and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got those. You would fill those out, and then, you paid for the book, and then a couple weeks later you would get it. Like, it would be delivered at school and everything. And, like, I would always, when I got those, I would always shoot straight to the manga section, just to see what they had.
Manga section?
Yeah, but, I mean, you can't really call it a section, because it was just Shonen Jump and Dragon Ball Z.
It doesn't matter. We didn't have that.
All they ever had was just the latest issue of Shonen Jump and the latest volume of Dragon Ball Z. But there was this one time where there was this 3rd thing in there, and I had no idea what it was. And since I already was collecting Shonen Jump, I already was collecting Dragon Ball Z, I was like, I'll just get this 3rd thing. And that 3rd thing was One Piece Volume 1. And when I read that, I mean, back then it wasn't very hard to get me into things. Like, if I saw something, I would just be like, "Oh, that's cool," and I would keep going with it. But so that's that. And I like all my friends around me and stuff, like, they were into that stuff too, so we would start reading One Piece. And,
Cool stuff, cool stuff.
so, you know, it kind of grew in popularity like that. But then, when I started, like, 6th grade and started getting out of elementary school, going into middle school, like, the anime and manga thing, that sort of kind of died out. Like, nobody was really into it anymore, except for me, obviously. And what happened was, I think it was this thing at our church, because we go to the same church.
True.
And it was this trip or something, and I was just by myself, sitting next to my mom, I think, or something. And there were these kids. We were in a bus at the time. These kids across the aisle who were playing their Game Boy Advance or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't know what they're playing, but, you know.
Is this that trip for the Blacks and Wax Museum?
Mm-hmm. And I saw those kids were playing the One Piece video game on Game Boy Advance.
Which was pretty clean, except for that one Sanji's lollipop thing.
Yeah. And, I mean, he's the kid who was playing, so that's how he knows.
Yeah.
And that's... I think... Well, that's not when I really started hanging out with you and stuff, but that's how it started, I think.
Okay.
So, and then, like, I started talking to him since I knew he was a One Piece fan and everything. And then I joined his Boy Scout troop, so that's how that started.
And then it began.
And, so, you know, I think it was really awesome to have a friend who was still into that kind of stuff, because not a lot of my friends were at the time. And then I think Funimation took over the One Piece license, and thank God they did, the anime license. And so, I mean, I didn't really have a problem back then, because I didn't know about the Japanese version. Like, I didn't know what the differences were or anything, so I just thought, oh, that's cool. So when Funimation took over, I was like, this is really different. Like, there's something going on here. So then I got high-speed internet so I could use the internet, and I found out there was a Japanese version, and I started looking into that and everything. And then eventually I started reading the manga online, I think. Well, manga/anime. I kind of switched in between. And then I finally got caught up. And when I got caught up, I think Luffy just got sent to Amazon Lily, so that's where I was. And then I kind of just went through on a weekly basis watching everything. And then I got to where I was now. So there's that.
I think it'd just be interesting to point out that, like, you know, One Piece isn't really popular in America.
Whose fault is that? But anyways, continue.
Like, you know, no one really, like, was into it like they were with stuff like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, because Naruto was really popular.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But, just interesting point. Around about the time that I started reading the manga, and it got him back interested in it, they were really around the point where the Straw Hats were invading Enya's lobby, and that was really it was like the big point of the series at that point in time, and this is when One Piece was really starting to gain popularity. It was kind of like we subconsciously knew what was happening. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Mind links. Well, One Piece has actually taught me quite a bit. Like, in addition to actual people, you know, talking to me, telling me, you know, be yourself, do what's right, blah, blah, blah.
That's true.
Like, One Piece has actually really helped me to realize that nobody can take from you who you are, and just to be yourself and be comfortable in your own skin. Because, I mean, they're pirates, but they're pirates that help people for nothing in return, just because it's the right thing to do, or because someone pisses off the captain. And yeah, I've learned, and it actually touches on a lot of serious issues like slavery, prejudice, war, the true meaning of justice, who's right and who's wrong, all this really serious stuff in this not so serious manga.
And I think it's kind of funny, like, when you say who's right and who's wrong. I mean, this is coming. You're looking at a point of view where they're the ones in the wrong most of the time. So even though it doesn't seem like it, I mean, like in a normal situation, you would, like a normal citizen would be with the Marines as opposed to pirates. But I mean, when you're reading it, you kind of feel like you want to go with the pirates sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. And then, I mean, like, with the art style, I guess, that's something that's pretty interesting. Because, I mean, when you look back at, like, the early stuff, like Volume 1, like East Blue stuff, it's like, he draws everything, like, pretty rounded.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean, like...
very circular.
Yeah. Like, it's kind of like... It's pretty cartoony, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And then, as it goes on, like, I don't think there's a definite point where it switches. I think it gradually goes, starting from, like, the Baroque work stuff on, like, it just gradually changes up to the point where it is now. And, I think the way it looks now, I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I actually think it looks great. It's better than anything I could do.
Yeah.
But, also, you know, East Blue was really, like, I think, like, the tone of the story and the art style kind of really changed at, the Baradier. Because that was when you had, you know, the Zorro fight with Hawkeye, the whole Sanji backstory. That's when we started getting longer flashbacks and backstories, and it was very radically different in the way that the battles were and the way that different things were portrayed. And I think he kind of took that and just ran with it.
So I guess you would say that's where it kind of brought you in, I would say. Because you were a fan from the start, obviously, but I mean, that's where it kind of, you knew, like, this is going to be pretty awesome. So
yeah. I mean, it was the first manga I ever read, so that kind of had a little, it makes me kind of biased. It actually makes me really biased.
I guess what did it for me was just the Arlong arc, because, I mean, that, I'm not going to deny that Baradier was good, but, I mean, I thought after that, like, I didn't think anything could kind of beat that or kind of be better than that, but, you know, Arlong Park did, and,
I do agree.
Because, you know, I came off of Dragon Ball Z, so, you know, like, those one-on-one fights, I think, were really cool, and, I mean, Baradier had a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Or,
kind of.
Yeah. And a lot more than how the Krill arc ended up. But,
that was so weird.
But I mean, like, with Baradier, like, not Baradier, Arlong Park, like, you kind of, you know, he kind of expanded more on the villains, I would say. Because with Don Krieg and them, his crew, they kind of just showed up.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't really explain that much. But with Arlong Park, I mean, he did the whole flashback with Nami and everything, so you knew, like, how terrible those Fishman pirates could be. And when they split off and everybody had a one-on-one fight with a certain Fishman, I just thought it was really awesome.
And kind of relating to that, and also relating to the rest of the story, this dude planned stuff out way in advance.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, he wanted to introduce Fishman Island in, like, it was either the third chapter or the third volume. And then we get, like, the Fishman Island flashback, which explains to you basically why the Arlong pirates are how they are in volume 63. And from the end of the Arlong arc, that is 52 volumes of just everything else that could happen. But, like, he knew what was going to happen to Ace from the moment he created the character. And he showed up in volume 18, and he knew what was going to happen with the war and what happens to Ace. In case you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil things for you, but he knew what he was going to do with that character and all that was going to happen, even all those volumes later, as he just built up a story.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Like, he, obviously, like you said, Oda's really good at planning and stuff, but, I mean, there's that thing where, like, some authors and stuff, they'll kind of, like, think up stuff as they go.
Right.
But he doesn't do that. Like, he knows what he's gonna do, like, the moment he thinks of it, I guess. Like,
Right.
I don't know if it's from the beginning or he did it later on, but I mean, at this point, he knows how he's gonna finish it and everything.
Yeah, he knows. He knows what how the end's gonna happen. Apparently, it's going to be crazier than Marineford. So, brace yourselves.
And what I wanted to say about that was, like, because he does all that planning and stuff, he doesn't forget about a lot of his characters and stuff, which I think is really cool. Because, like, I see stuff in, like, Naruto, like, there'll be an arc with, like, some supporting characters and stuff, and, I mean, they'll be there for the arc, and then they're just gone, and they never come back or whatever.
I know where you're going with this.
There's, like, with One Piece, there's always a chance that a character can come back. Even if it doesn't seem like they will.
Okay, that's just not fair.
I'm not going to spoil it for you, but he knows what I'm talking about.
I thought someone was never going to come back, and they did, and he will not let this go.
So yeah, like, especially, like, okay, like, I'm gonna say, like, with Kobe, because when you have someone from that point, you know how we said, like, the art style changed and stuff?
Yeah.
When you have someone from the earlier part of the series, and you don't see them till a lot later.
He first showed up here, and then he got a cover story somewhere in the Arlong arc. So,
like, it's, I mean, to me, it's just really cool to see those characters, like, drawn in his new style, I guess. Right. Yeah. So, and, I mean, there's a recent cover story where he basically did that for all the characters that we hadn't seen, so, yeah, there's that.
And, like, what he was saying about, like, you know, someone might come back, you never know. The best example of that would definitely be Buggy the Clown.
Yeah.
Because he shows up really early, he gets a cover story, and you think you're done with him. You don't see him for a while. Then he shows up again in his own... It's not even relevant to the story at that point. It's just a little, oh, this is what Buggy's doing. Just in case you wanted to know for some odd reason. And then he shows up again, I think. Right? Before Impel Down.
No, I don't think so.
No? I'm thinking about Shanks and Whitebeard. My bad. But, never mind that. But then he shows up as a major character in another saga, and it's just so much later that it's almost like, oh, that's right, you did exist.
Yeah, I mean, sorry if you're not this far, but I'm gonna talk about the Impel Down saga.
Spoiler alert!
So, yeah, like, I mean, when you hear about Impel Down, like, before you even start the arc, you're just like, oh, since this is a huge prison for pirates, I mean, Luffy could run into anyone, really. And then when they get there, you know, you hear some names kind of spout out, like, again, spoilers, like Crocodile, Buggy, and then Jinbei, who the last time we heard that name was, like, what, Volume 6 or something?
Volume 8, actually.
Volume 8, okay. Yeah, like, right before they start the Arlong arc, so, I mean, once again, he never forgets about stuff he's mentioned, because he plans on using it later. And, like I said before, it was kind of cool to see people like, Crocodile and Mr. 3 and Ball and Clay come back. I thought, that's pretty cool. And then the same thing with Marineford. Like, you see all these people come together that you hadn't seen in a while. So,
like who?
I mean, like the 7 warlords. I mean,
oh, right.
Like Moria. I mean, he was just there a couple arcs ago. But you see people like Doflamingo and Kuma and Hawkeye and stuff like that. So.
And just the way that he kind of, like, even, okay, there's 2 things I want to go off into. Like, smaller things that he links to, like, if you're not this far, sorry, but it is a spoiler. At the end of Thriller Bark, Luffy gets a bracelet. It's made out of glass. Nami's like, oh, you can have it. That's fine. It's not a big deal. He gets it. He goes to Impel Down, and that's actually how he gets help from Buggy.
And then, I mean, like, what the thing about that is, like, it's a marker for treasure, like Captain John specifically. But if you
first mentioned in Volume 25 when we saw Buggy for the second time.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you're just like, what's the deal with this Captain John guy? But I mean, if you go back to Thriller Bark, he's there. Like, he's one of the zombies that Hogback brings back. So, I mean, just kind of little stuff like that is cool. So, I mean, I kind of, we've been talking about the manga specifically, but I kind of want to talk about the anime for a little bit.
You can do that.
If that's okay.
I'm not as big of an expert on this, so.
I mean, you've seen the anime, at least a little bit.
I've seen some of the episodes, here and there.
I mean, when I got into it, it was, now I realize it was not a good time. I mean,
oh no.
Because before Funimation, and I'm sure you guys all know this story.
Anyone who lives in America knows about this.
A company called 4Kids Entertainment, which previously did Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that. And those were pretty good.
Yeah.
But then once they got One Piece, they screwed everything up. I don't know what they were thinking. They did heavy editing and stuff and changed some really important plot points that would have screwed them up later if they continued. They screwed up so many things, and at first I kind of just went with it. But then, as I kind of caught up with the series, I realized, like, if they had kept going, it would have, like, the best example is the whole Laboon thing.
I was hoping you'd say that.
I mean, you could kind of, I guess you could kind of get away with not having Little Garden, but the whole Laboon thing.
Wait, they skipped Little Garden?
Yeah.
What?
But like the whole Laboon thing, like Laboon is pretty much Brooks' reason for joining the crew. So if you don't have that, then how's he gonna join?
Brooke, why are you joining the crew? I don't know. I feel like it.
Like at the beginning, it's like, you want to join my crew? Okay, that would be it.
End of the arc.
Yeah, I mean,
aside from the fact that they have to get a shadow.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of my deal with it. So you said you didn't watch the anime that much, right?
Yeah, I still don't really, unfortunately.
But I mean, they have it online and stuff officially.
Yes,
so you can watch it there. And I got the DVDs obviously, and those DVDs, Funimation does a really good job of doing that.
Yeah.
So.
Funimation, yeah.
I think that's everything we have to talk about.
Oh, before we go, Panda Man is everywhere.
Yes.
He's probably hiding in your sock drawer. He showed. Not only does he show up everywhere the Straw Hats go, he shows up throughout time. Like in the Mont Blanc Nolan and what's his name? Kagura?
Yeah.
And the Kagura flashback. He's at Nolan's execution. That was 400 years ago.
And for those of you who don't know, Panda Man is One Piece's version of Where's Waldo, basically. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. And he's got, like, supporting characters throughout the series. He's got, what's his name? Tomato Gang, who's looking for Panda Man because he didn't pay his rent or something like that. Then there's Unforgivable Mask, who goes with Tomato Gang, and he's like, I'm gonna help you catch Panda Man, because he's my rival. Yeah.
And then, more recently, like, he's been just throwing, other things in there. Not specifically those, Panda Man characters. Like, in the Fishman Island arc, like, if you look around, you can see, what's her name, Octopaco or something?
Yeah.
From Hachi's side story. She's around there somewhere. You can find her in the crowd. And then, if you guys remember, when Luffy was with Sanji and Yosaku on their way to Arlong Park, he drew his interpretation of a mermaid, basically. And that crappy drawing shows up in a crowd somewhere in Fishman Island, so...
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know about that?
No!
So, I mean, it's stuff like that that's just really awesome, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously, the series is pretty important for both of us.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's pretty obvious that, if not the #1 spot, it's probably in our top 5 favorite anime/manga or whatever.
Favorite.
There you go. So, yeah, I mean, that's just what we wanted to do for the 15th anniversary. And, so, I mean, is there anything else you want to add?
Not really. Just want to say happy birthday to One Piece.
And thank you, Eiichiro Oda, for being a genius.
Thank you, God, for giving us Eiichiro Oda.
Yeah, so...
Yeah,
that's it. And, if you guys have any videos or anything, you can put them in the video response or whatever. So, yeah, happy 15th, One Piece.
Woo!